Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, sir.
I'm hearing the. Oh, that's what I'm doing. I'm hearing the
hello.
music from our stream.
Nice.
I forgot to mute it. All right. Well, anyway, good start. Good start.
I think it is. I would say so, yeah.
At least we're starting on time.
I know. Look at us go. Growing up, man. You're getting used to the Twitch. Oh, man, I just started watching Gordon Ramsay's new cooking show, the Next Level Chef. I don't know if you heard about this. It's like three different levels. There's like the basement kitchen, the mediocre kitchen, and the gourmet kitchen, or whatever. And he kind of judges. They went overboard with it. Anyway, the reason why I bring it up is that he asks one of the contestants, "What do you do?" And she's like, "Oh, I stream my cooking on Twitch." And she goes, "What the fuck is Twitch?" And I was like, "Oh shit, I think I'm Gordon Ramsay."
I mean, I barely even know what Twitch is, truly.
Who does? Who really does? None of us do. But I do respect a young lady who's doing it. Mariachi Dan, hello, sir.
Hello.
Happy to have you here. There we go. Get everyone's little avatars up and running. Everyone can go ahead and play it. I think I added in some Smash Bros. Avatars recently as well. So folks
really
mix up the avatars and more than welcome to. That's just something that we got right here. It's at the bottom of D&D. Well, hello, sir. It is nice to see you. It has been not too long at all.
No, it's not been long at all.
Yeah, I don't want to lie, but you know what? That doesn't make it less special. It's nice to see you.
No, it's been less than 24 hours, but that's okay.
Exactly. And I'm very excited for our topic of discussion for tonight because of the relevancy which for our episode that comes out tomorrow. Spoiler free. Yeah. We're gonna do our best, of course.
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah, we don't need to specifically talk about things that happened yesterday. Speaking of, how was yesterday?
Hey, I mean, it was good. It was busy. A lot of pieces to micromanage. A day without you guys is like a day without sunshine. Oh, Beckham! Don't make me cry on my stream, sir. Thank you, that's adorable. Honestly, dude, it was good. A lot to micromanage. And there was a lot of pieces, and we had been out in the wilderness for so long, and I forgot what it was like to have to wrangle so many NPCs now that you guys were back in town, because everyone's like, well, let's talk to this person, let's that. Like,
yeah, there's certain things about being back in town where as a DM, it's just like, oh, okay. It's good. They're chilling. It's maybe some downtime. I don't have to worry about necessarily having a random encounter or whatever. And then you remember, I have no idea in this town where they're gonna go because they could ask for anything right now.
Yep, they could do.
Entirely different set of things to be concerned about.
Exactly. Which color is the bunny that I have to pull out of the hat gonna be? Like.
That, friends, is why it's also a good idea to have a list of potential NPC names, random
shop
stuff
names,
like that.
Shop descriptions. Yeah, just have it ready to. I think there was literally a moment where I was like, "Give me a sec, I forgot that person's name," and then
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. For those of you guys who are running around with the stream avatars, now and then you'll see a reminder from us over there. If you just put exclamation commands, it'll show you a list. You can dance, you can duel each other. It's quite fun, and every now and then I drop a few points, and that helps you unlock stuff. It's quite a cool game, quite a cool little game that we got going on.
Kind of lock stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna do that. You're gonna have to carry this. I'm just gonna
wait. Hang on. No, I think you're both gonna be lost because apparently.
What?
Yeah, you can just fart and you just hop off the thing. That's bloody cool.
I did do that, and there's a little bomb thing, and it makes you like explode halfway up the screen. See, ready? It's coming. Eventually, dropped a bomb. I don't know if there's a delay on this for everyone else, but it's over halfway up the screen.
Yeah, look at that. Amazing.
These were a wonderful and terrible idea. Well done.
Thank you. I thought so as well. Alrighty, so on to our topic of the day.
Yes.
Yeah, this honestly this was your suggestion, and I really loved it. I thought this is probably one of going to be the coolest things that we're going to end up talking about is, is just taking. I guess we're not really going to be holding too much to things like specific actions or chases and things like that. It's just sort of based out what is outside of combat when it comes to certain things that are particularly timed or measured in some particular way.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a little bit specific to the rules inside the rule book or underneath the spells, etc. And so it's going to be a really cool thing to discuss to see, how do we go about this? How do we sort of handle it? How do you judge it? How do you test it, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's somewhat topical, and it's almost always a topical thing if you're playing games because there's so many opportunities for this kind of thing to happen, and sometimes it's easier to handle everything by just rolling an initiative and having things be in very set timing. But I think that can pull away some of the tension and excitement that can come from having out of combat stuff, or it's something in a soft initiative.
Yeah.
Usually how I describe it, I'm sure there's other terms for it, but you say, you're kind of in a soft initiative right now. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And you mess around with it a little bit. You still try and stay within you've done one thing. You have like an action and some movement, but you don't get into all the technical minutia of everything.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of great. I think I do agree with you with like sometimes keeping it as a soft initiative and just kind of keeping the narrative going is a really cool thing because it kind of does leave if you have a turn initiative and you're a player, you're gonna wait till your turn before you can kind of react to something, as opposed to like a player gets the chance to be like, while he does that, can I do something like this? Like it kind of keeps them a little engaged, and the energy at your table is a little more exciting.
Yeah, it definitely. So, for example, yesterday, my heart was racing more during that kind of sequence than it does during combat necessarily, because there is that very structured way to go about it.
Sure.
Whereas it seems more realistically, everything's still going slower than it would happen in real life, of course, but there's oh crap, I have to think of something real quick, because in a second I may need to do something, so you're a little bit more on edge, especially if, say, someone were to split the party once or twice.
Yeah, literally twice.
Yeah, so I don't know, you can see I think I was leaning forward a lot during that sequence in our game yesterday. So I like it. I've seen a lot of different ways people handle sequences like that, or chase sequences, or just non-structured initiative battles in a very set area. And there's a ton of right ways to do it. I haven't really seen anything particularly wrong or anybody handle it really poorly.
Sure.
But you can agree or disagree with this. It can be a little more stressful sometimes as a DM, because you're trying to make sure everybody's getting their opportunity to do stuff without skipping somebody, because you don't necessarily have a structured initiative. And it's a lot more, they're trying, sometimes a player, because there's not that structure, they'll try and do 3 things at once. And you're like, well, okay, so you do this, what are you doing? Kind of jump to the other person. So you have to be a little bit better at hurting the players a bit. Like sheepdogging, I guess.
A little bit, yeah, and it's kind of easy to get lost into the excitement of it yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You're trying to ride your own horse throughout the whole batch. It does also kind of start to get complicated when it comes to, a good example is grappling. If 2 people are grappling while other things are going on, it's how often are you going to make them keep grappling as they're struggling? It's not like one struggle attempt happens and then suddenly they get, you know what I mean?
Yeah, try and I mean, again, you can base some stuff on an initiative or whoever has the higher dex, but as you go around, if everyone does one thing, well, the bad guy is going to get to do something now too.
For sure.
And usually, if they're grappled, that is try and break the grapple, unless they're a caster or something and teleport away or some such. But yeah, and before we continue, I just want to also remind the chat that is seemingly just having fun with the avatars. If you have these moments, you've had these moments you liked, out of combat situations that DMs have run for you, or if you've run a game that you thought was interesting or something that didn't work, maybe, feel free to chime in. Or if you have any questions about the mechanics of it, or maybe you're thinking about doing it but are concerned about making it work, please chime in to the chat. We are watching, mostly just actions right now for your avatars, but we're watching. So.
Yeah, but we are watching. We will look, I assure you. And if we don't get to it right away, it's probably because one of us is out of mid-sentence, but we will.
Yeah.
I assure you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we've seen jump, and scroll back up.
How do I? And then jump. So, yeah, to piggyback back into what you were bringing up, but thank you so much for making that announcement. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
To kind of, sort of, I think something that typically helps me when I remember it, when you have a situation like that, there's maybe 5 or 6 people doing something at one specific time to go between person to person. I mean, you kind of turn the line over there, but I try to remember that 6-second rule that every turn technically happens in 6 seconds. And people typically have kind of, normally have the ability to perform an action, a bonus action, within 6 seconds. And also move like 30 feet. So it's as long as you have that sort of 6-second rule, and you can kind of be like, if they sort of bring up, I would love to do this, and then immediately do this. It's like, all right, well, let's see if we can make this work at some speed. It's like, well, you can do it in a turn, which is 6 seconds, and that makes a lot of sense. So, if there's an obstacle and you roll for it, and then you fuck up, it just speeds off to the next person, and it just kind of keeps that flow going.
That's early on new players getting that, and even for new DMs trying to conceptualize how much happens in such a small amount of time, because it's not just, yes, your turn is 6 seconds, but it's not like a turn-based game. The entire round is 6 seconds that you're all acting simultaneously during. Just some of it happens a little quicker than the others. So a minute in a game or in a battle is 10 rounds. That is a ton of action.
That's a lot. Yeah.
So it's there's a lot going on, a lot of crazy stuff, but it all happens really quickly, and that's why you're limited to such a few amount of things, and breaking out of the initiative or traditional initiative, you kind of have to. You can be, and as a DM, it's up to you if you want to be a little lenient with some of it and say, okay, well, you could probably do an extra thing too, because we're being a little loose, or even maybe tighten it up, saying like, you get an action, you get your movement. There's no bonus actions, reactions right now. It's just we have to move quick. That's up to you as a DM how you want to run that.
It's a good way of keeping pace. It's also kind of
continues with,
Is it Pathfinder where you can give up like your immediate action, your bonus action, side action, and your reaction equivalent is how Pathfinder, I think it's phrased different. But if you had to, you could use all of them, and you can like triple your movement speed, and it's called sprint or something, and that's kind of something to think about. It's like, all right, I just want to get as close as I can. It's like, all right.
There's move, dash, and sprint.
I think there's move, then dash.
There's actually a function of that in 5e, and that certain classes can bonus and move again. So I'd be hesitant to award that to anybody who doesn't have that, because it's like, if you're letting anybody spend their bonus and reaction to dash a third time or a second dash, I guess.
Second dash.
It kind of takes away the agency of a rogue that can do it or so on.
Yeah, that's very true.
But that's just, again, you're outside of normal combat rules. So, yeah, if you make some stuff up as you go,
I mean,
that's the time to do it.
Yeah.
That is the time to do it.
Yeah, because I mean, that's probably one of the less complicated questions of taking like an action outside. Certain things are, once again, there's this sort of 6-second rule, because you can kind of calculate it, but if you spend your time calculating, it kind of takes away from the urgency of it all. But say, for example, using reckless attack, because you want to run up real quick, try to stab this person. Maybe you do it, but you're doing it reckless because you want your advantage to succeed on it. But now other folks are going to have advantage on you, but you're not some turn of combat. So that's something to kind of keep in mind, like how long has this person really been reckless with this attack, and how long is he off guard with it, or she? Excuse me. How long are they typically off guard with it? And that's another tricky thing to try and keep in mind. And what's going the 6-second rule kind of helps, but then again, the narrative itself kind of helps as well. Yeah.
Trying to think. Definitely on this one, I did a little bit more digging into the dungeon master. Yeah. Sometimes you'll probably hear I'll say DMG, just because that's the quick and easy way to say it, and I try to remember during the chat. Try to remember during the chat to say the Dungeon Master's Guide. Many of you may not know what it stands for, but it really does. It is great. I know there's a lot here to look through. It's 300 or so pages of a lot of details of things. Man, to any new or even veteran DMs that haven't read it in a while, go back and look. It actually gives you a roadmap for a lot of things. Including, there's an entire section on chases and how to do those,
which is
and even different options for it. Not just this is the way you have to do it. Like, I didn't even realize actually until this read through. It's one of the first things they talk about, that during a chase specifically, there is a mechanic in there for limiting how many times you can dash because you're going to get tired.
Okay, eventually become makes so much sense.
Three times plus your constitution modifier, and then if you continue to do it, you have to make con saving throws to not gain a level of exhaustion. So you could theoretically just keep doing it if you're going to make that save, because it's only a DC 10 Constitution save, which is not too high.
No, I mean, especially for certain classes, which does kind of make sense. But so and that's something I didn't think about, but makes perfect sense, because I know I've played before and I've had that thought. It's like, man, how long can they run? And all I have to do is look right here. It's just right there. So Bedlam brought up two very perfectly good points. If a player does a reckless attack during a surprise round, there's a chance that they'll get their next turn before they can get attacked and then kind of recover. Yeah, I mean, to me that I believe surprise rounds typically handled very differently from DM to DM, but to me that kind of makes sense. You got the jump on someone, you can thematically excuse this adrenaline, and now you're back into it, kind of thing. But you can also theoretically dash yourself to death. Not inaccurate. You can just keep running until you die. Game of Thrones, man. It's funny, anytime I see that, I think about how some it's like a DM pet peeve. It doesn't bother me that much because it's not really a big deal. You just have to explain it. But in 5th edition, there is no such thing as a surprise round, and that seems to be a thing that some people just get so upset about. As I think in previous editions, there was a structure for a surprise round, whereas in 5th edition, you don't get a full round just because you surprise someone. You may get an action or a series of actions that everyone's like, hold to fire right now. That's not a surprise round. That's just
an action, a surprise action, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just funny when I see that, and I always think about this, how angry people get about it.
It's a heated
it's
subject for
amusing.
some folks, yeah.
Um, but yeah, if they do, so you're saying they get a reckless attack during a surprise round, there's a chance they'll get their next turn and regain their balance before they get attacked. Well, if they make an attack, that's enough to keep the reckless or the rage and stuff going. So, and you're talking about to not get an attack,
to not get the disadvantage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you could get a free advantage. If it's a true surprise, maybe the DM lets you have advantage anyway, and you don't need to attack recklessly.
Yeah.
But a surprise round doesn't necessarily mean that either. It just means you got to attack first.
Which is not also a great benefit.
Yeah, and attacking from stealth may get you an advantage because they truly don't know that you're about to hit them.
Exactly.
But sometimes surprise is just you scream surprise and hit them in the face. Well, you don't necessarily get advantage on that, but you do get to hit them first.
Yeah, and I mean, that's pretty funny. You can have that moment. You can walk away with that first. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, surprise. I love how we go into surprise rounds. We talk about this, but to talk about mariachi dance, like surprise rounds do make rogues so powerful. Yes, especially the assassin, which is if you guaranteed, I think level 3, you guaranteed a crit if you surprise a target.
Yeah. Again,
which is
surprise round.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a surprise round, but if it's a surprise round and all of the enemies are considered surprised, it's just that
is the bread and butter of that. The assassin subclass is being able to do that. Just getting in there, just obliterating something and then getting back out again. And it's good for a hit and run, taking out a guard or something like that. It's or assassinating someone. It's great. You always want to try and get that with that assassin subclass.
No, sure.
I like it. It's one of the, was it 3 original in the player's handbook that they had.
Yeah, Thief, Arcane Trickster, and Assassin.
Assassin, and it's great. It's a really good one.
Yeah.
Not Swashbuckler. It's the worst one ever. Never pick it.
The Swashbuckler. Yeah. If I'm DMing something, please.
Yeah, please don't. I ran 2 campaigns. Both had a rogue Swashbuckler in it. It's like, do you get your sneak attack dice? Of course you do. You get it on everything.
There's a pigeon flying off in the background. Yeah.
No, that's great. I guess when we were doing our class, talking about classes, we never did quite get to rogue, did we? I can't remember where we stopped.
No,
I think stopped. Paladin or so. So we were about to get there, like Ranger and Rogue.
Yeah.
That was fun. Maybe we'll go back to that.
I think maybe next Monday we'll get back to that.
I have to figure out where we left off.
Exactly. We have we have a question from our chat. What are some one-on-one abilities that lock down the enemy? Famously, a monkey using Stunning Strike, but I've also been reading about the coordinated quests and volunteer stats. In addition to obviously things like Cold Person or Ensnaring Strike from the Rangers, things like that. But if you're looking for very class-specific things,
I have to think about that for a second.
Your Spirit Guardian Barbarian, in a way, kind of locks people down. They can't attack you.
If you're thinking about it in the terms of not just they're locked down in that they can't move or do anything, that Spirit Guardian thing, while not forcing them to attack the Barbarian, it makes it almost unreasonable to attack anybody but the Barbarian, because they'll have disadvantage on the attack against someone else, and when they do hit them, they become resistant to the damage.
And then the Spirit Shield, which they can use, the Barbarians use reaction to protect them anyway.
Yeah, the Spirit Shield, so they don't Spirit Shield themselves, but they can shield somebody else. So that's a way of locking them down. Or if you want to keep an enemy from moving on to someone else or fleeing, the Sentinel feat is great.
Oh yeah, true.
Because if you can hit them, you can prevent something from running off that would otherwise just be able. Sure, your dragon, if it dashes, has 120 flight or something, but if you're a sentinel and you're next to them,
you ain't going nowhere.
They may not be able to get anywhere unless you miss. Dragons notoriously have pretty high armor classes.
Yeah,
so.
best of luck.
Yeah.
I mean, the other one that comes to it is one of my favorite listed schools, and that's enchantment. They got the hypnotic gaze, where as long as they maintain eye contact, and you can every round use your action to like keep the stare up, and you can just keep them in a conversation. You can basically for the longest time. At level 2, which is kind of scary. Oh, sorry, no, just it's at level 2.
What is the? No, it's hypnotic pattern is one that can take like an entire group out of combat for just don't hit them.
Yeah. All right, time to come up with a plan.
I've had a bard in one of my groups had that spell, and one took out like 4 of the 8 in a combat. They took out all the other ones and then attacked the others. And then another one, they got kind of ambushed by something really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And cast that spell, and it failed the spell. It was going to be a big combat, but it failed, so it went hypnotic pattern. They're like, do we attack? No, let's just run. So they just ran.
Hey, that's smart.
Yeah.
Punch your losses and get the hell out of there, man.
Yeah. It would have been a tough one, so
yeah,
it worked out pretty well.
But that alone is a feat that's worth talking about, like what we were just discussing about like sort of out of turn combat. There's a chase scene going on, and you've got Sentinel, and you're able to swing onto them as they're running away. Just get the hit, bam, maybe hit them with the back of the leg, or you've pushed them into a cart and they fall over. That's how they've stopped chasing. But for how long? You don't have that turn sequence because it's like a chase that you're trying to go along inside the narrative way. So once again, it is that kind of that turn line of how long does Sentinel actually apply outside of combat?
Well, I mean, just 6 seconds or whatever. But...
Yeah, as a compensation. I think that the 6-second rule is kind of the golden key for most of the stuff.
It's enough for they don't get to move their next action or whatever for that turn. They can't get any further away. Yeah. And even if you're out of combat, that means you and them, they also get to do one more thing before they can actually try and leave again. Bedlam Beersy brings up the Sentinel plus the Polearm Master. Polearm Master is great because you can use your reaction to jab at them before they even get to you.
Yeah.
Which is pretty nasty combo there.
Yeah.
I played with a monk that was using that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I do think, however, I'm reading the Sentinel feat here. It's specifically when you hit with an opportunity attack. So it's like if you DM, it like allows it. But yeah, I don't know if somebody coming in your combat range counts as an opportunity attack. Unless Polearm Master.
It says in Polearm Master, when you're wielding glaive, halberd, pike, quarterstaff, or spear, other creatures provoke an opportunity attack from you when they enter the reach.
There we go. Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been as confident had I not seen it used in combat before.
Yeah.
The key would be, because I think generally a quarterstaff is just a 5 foot. It's having something like a glaive that's got that real long distance, so it's got a 10-foot reach on it. I guess maybe it wasn't a monk that was using it. It must have been someone else if they had something long enough to keep someone at bay.
That's pretty dope. And Mario Chidan is is combat. Is Sentinel not a combat specific feat? I always figured that there were feats that were tied with combat that didn't exist out of it. I mean, you can keep certain things that way, but
yeah, I guess it depends on the DM, how the DM wants to rule it. But if someone's standing next to you outside of combat and they just run, are you going to make it where the player can't try and grab them as they run away or hit them with a sword like they would in combat? I guess it depends on the situation. are they surprised that they ran?
Yeah,
if they're
they
surprised, then maybe they didn't get an opportunity to attack because you're just like, well, I just want to talk to you, buddy.
Yeah. But
so
like
maybe
he's running down an alleyway and you've cut him off and he just stops right in front of you before he tries to pull it away. You might get a swing inside there. I think that's fair. And
could it be just in combat? Sure. I guess it kind of depends.
Yeah.
Kind of depends on the DM, really.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel. I mean, and maybe it's just me, my soft heart, but I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe that would be cheating the player a little bit, because you're kind of building up. Because I mean, you could use things like the actor feat very well inside combat if you're creative. With disguise self, like you could shut down the whole combat with it, but that's predominantly like an out of combat feat. And so, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'd be cheating my player out if I'd take it away from them.
Yeah, I mean it's situational. You could, depending on what's going on, you could argue that you were not ready for combat. You were not ready to react to something, so you don't necessarily have a reaction in this moment. Maybe follow it up with a different roll. Players love rolling. Have them do some type of dexterity check to see are you able to, or have them make an insight check as this person runs. Did you just through insight know, oh crap, they're about to run, so you grab your sword and attack them? Yeah. Or whatever you're going to do. So make it based on another roll. That's, I mean, kind of what we were talking about before. It's not necessarily in the structure of combat, so you can kind of play around with it a little bit.
Yeah, you can. I think that answers the plus of the question that we just got again to end over here. Do you have a guideline, like a personal guideline, for granting reactions outside of combat? And honestly, it's just it to me it comes down to just the reasonable sort of reactions to it. If you're inside a large crowd of people and someone inside the crowd of people happens to cast a spell at some point, counterspell might not be an option there. If the wizard is just in the middle of a loud crowd or whatever, he's not going to be able to.
Yeah, you didn't know it was coming. It's in a way, it's almost a surprise action, so you don't get a chance to react to it.
Exactly that. Yeah, but like in the case of you get hit by some kind of elemental force at some point, like a beam of fire kind of hits you. Getting hit by the fire, I think, would warrant the reaction for like absorb elements. Yeah. Yeah, because you got hit by fire, you're hurting, you're probably on fire, and you're seeing it and you're reacting to it.
That is a good point. Would you take that away from? Because I can definitely see moments where having a reaction to stuff outside of combat would not really be that appropriate. Hopefully the player agrees as well, and hopefully as a DM you're open to maybe bending that rule a little bit if the situation's there. But yeah, for that, absorb elements. If you were surprised but someone in front of you cast a spell against you, could you Hellish Rebuke as a reaction?
Oh,
maybe.
Yeah.
That said, that same thing, maybe you didn't see it coming, would you allow a shield reaction?
I was going to say, what if you...
Maybe not in that situation. So where do you... Maybe it's easier as a DM to draw a line and say, outside of combat, you're not going to get a reaction.
Yeah.
It might just be easier so you're not... some maybe the players think it's a little flaky where you're choosing to allow it sometimes but not other times. Players do appreciate more structure to the game, and maybe that's how you have to run it.
I mean, you could also just use like the players' experience themselves. Like a level 8 wizard trying to react really quickly to a shield. I mean, you've seen some shit. But your first, second, maybe even third level wizard, you're not seasoned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, if you would know at that point. It becomes so instinctual and it's so trivial compared to what you're actually capable of. To me, that does kind of make sense.
I will say, in the terms of probably how rules is written, a reaction is it's a combat action. It's something that is intended to be for combat. Whether or not you can or I would make exceptions to that maybe. But if you're going rules as written, don't quote me because there may be exceptions in the DMG. Like I said, it's a big book, but it is a combat ability that you have. And any type of reactionary things outside of combat tend to have a specific ability attached to your race or your class. Like the barbarian's danger sense, it's not a reaction, it's just something they have. They have this natural, like, the spidey sense or whatever to them, that they get advantage on a dexterity save, and that can happen outside of combat. I guess that would mean an uncanny dodge would not be, because that uses your reaction.
And there's a lot of things that use your reaction.
That's the thing. There's some stuff that it kind of toes that line, that I might allow some reactions outside of combat if it were situationally, if it made sense.
I mean, Marriage Dan kind of brings up a great thing. If you have the alert feat, you should be able to have reactions outside of combat.
That's already a really great. That's already a really great feat, and that kind of boosts it even more. But that's not a terrible point, because it's like you can't be surprised. You've got the initiative bonus. It's a pretty good one. I do like the alert feat.
It's pretty dope.
If nothing else, then that initiative bonus is fantastic.
+5. It's chunky. Give that to a Gloomstalker.
Yeah, if you've already got a dex-based character, oh man. Take the alert feat while you have the swashbuckling rogue who's a dex base. So they get a charisma boost, the alert boost, and a dex boost. You can have like a +13 to initiative.
Probably. I mean, you'd come close to it.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, I rolled a 5. That's an 18.
Oh, it went all fuzzy.
What went fuzzy? Am I fuzzy? You still there? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. You're sounding good. My camera just went fuzzy for some reason.
Gotcha.
What good's that?
Oh, and it says the Chronergy wizards add their intelligence to the... I don't know. I have read about that subclass, but not in heavy detail.
Wait, is it Chronergy? I thought it was that was the battle mage. They get
unless I'm mistaken, he might be referring to the Chronergy magic that's actually in Mercer's Guide to Wildmount. Because there is a Chronergy.
It's pretty great.
I will just go ahead and look and see. It's in here somewhere. No. That's magic items. That's not what I'm looking for. Use the table of contents or an appendix? No, why would I do that?
I guess, I mean, Riptide kind of brings up a great point here. You know, battle requires that you become aware on what's focused around you, because you're kind of in combat, but if you're drinking in the tavern, you're not really going to be aware. I think that's it's great too. If you're in a chase sequence, it makes sense to me that you're doing your best to be aware, because your adrenaline's pumping. I mean, it was mentioned earlier, it's like time to adrenaline. But that's a good way of doing it. But sorry, you were talking about...
Oh no, the Chronergy thing, it is absolutely in Wildmount. The stuff he's talking about, chronal shift and momentary stasis, and not chronal shift, temporal awareness, momentary stasis, that's the Wildmount, so may not be something that other folks use. But if you are looking at the Wildmount stuff, that is it's a pretty neat one. It is pretty cool. I think what Riptide was saying, and what we already kind of talked about a little bit, some of it might just be, did you see this coming? If something happens behind you, sure, you're not going to get a reaction, but if someone who you're looking at are already kind of paying attention to, maybe you could get a reaction in that situation, and you could do an initiative-based thing. Can you react before they're able to just get away? Or, like I said, maybe an insight, or just a standard wisdom check, or just a basic dexterity check, which is essentially an initiative roll.
Basically,
So, I think, again, if it's just easier as a DM to do what is more rules as written, to just say no reactions outside of combat, I mean, you can do it that way. I'm just open to possible exceptions to that.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think I'm in the same boat. I'm typically open to it. Like, yeah, I just kind of like the absorb elements argument. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, stuff like that. But then again, if it's too ridiculous, it's too ridiculous. Like, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, if you didn't see the attack coming, yeah, you're briefly on fire. But if it didn't, or covered in acid, it's not a continuous effect. It is just a one-off hit. Maybe you don't have enough time to react and use your spell.
Yeah.
It still takes verbal or somatic, or so, I can't remember what the components are for that one. But it does still. Yeah. Yes, not even a react face. Yeah, you could definitely, your face is going to react to whatever happens, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mirachi Dan's getting very upset about this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're getting heated.
Players have to be fallible. It's all caps on that. That's why alert is a feat. He's so upset with it. Well, you know what? We'll run our games our way, and you run yours your way.
Yeah.
Dan.
Sucker punches.
I'm just, again, I'm saying I'm open to those possibilities. I think, and I have some players or former players in the chat right now, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the time y'all were not using reactions outside of combat. So generally speaking, I don't do that, but that's not to say that the situation couldn't come up.
Yeah, if it's creative and it's cool, and if it just makes sense, like narratively, you can look at it then. Yeah.
So yes, players can be fallible, but they also get to have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's not like the reaction is guaranteed to succeed in the first place. I don't think there's a reaction that just happens. So everyone's at the pub drinking, suddenly everyone gets an arrow through the head.
Here's what we'll do. I'm going to allow Hellish Rebuke only if you are a tiefling and it's racially like part of who you are, because it's essentially the equivalent of the tiefling just going, fuck! So,
ow! Exactly.
There you go. That's the one reaction I'll allow going forward.
Oh, it's good stuff.
Oh, man. Anyway.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. Out of combat actions, chases, timed events, etc.
Chases are fun. Have you? How much have you looked at? What are you doing?
I was pointing to the title that we have above, where it says "Out of combat actions, chases, timed."
Oh, we do. I'm not looking at our screen. I'm looking at the separate Zoom that we're in.
Oh. That's fair.
If I look at that, it's on a delay and it messes with me.
Oh, that's true. I can fuck with you.
Yeah, you can.
But to answer your question, I actually did have a look at some of the chase sequences inside there. I think
the complications are fantastic.
Yeah, they really are.
And it even says like, hey, do you design your own, make it different for a different scenario or a different place. Yeah. I think it's great having. I think late in a campaign I had that just ended, I started to I started using or thinking about complications and rolling for complications, not just for random encounters, but having a series of tables of this can go wrong, or this can happen, or this happens, or that happens, or the weather's different, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's why during a chase, it's great. Like some of these examples in here, you're chasing after someone, you roll a d20 at the end of your turn or at the beginning of their turn, however you want to structure that. Yeah. And they roll 5 and the ground is slippery. Someone spilled something there. It was just raining. There's some oil or whatever. So you have to make a dex save. You may fall prone and now you're falling behind in the chase. Or if you're the one running away from someone, they get closer to you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. 20 different, well, I guess 10 different complications. 11 to 20 is none. But you run into a brawl in progress. I love that phrase. Yeah. A brawl in progress. It's like,
well, that's great. You come around the corner and it just so happens that somebody selling fruit is getting in an argument with someone who's buying it. And they start pushing each other and they get in your way as you're trying to chase down the thief or whatever.
That's so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it has in here an urban chase and then a wilderness chase,
Wilderness one, yeah,
which
that's
is
pretty
kind of a catch-all for the two basic scenarios you can find yourself in.
Oh, look down
But
the tree. You run through a swarm of insects just as you're running, and it's just bees are like your face as you're running.
Well, yeah, you can keep running, but you ran through a swarm, so the swarm gets an opportunity attack,
Yeah.
which is great.
Just ow, 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 as you're running after him.
Could that discourage you from chasing after someone? Maybe.
Yeah, 100%. Get stung on the face by a series of bees.
Mm-hmm. And it's still like a 50-50 where, you know, if you roll the 11 to 20, you're okay. And you just keep moving, no complications.
Yeah.
But yeah, feel free to make your own. It's actually a lot of fun to make your own charts. And you may think, well, it's kind of tedious to do that. No, it's actually a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Especially when they roll something you're really excited for.
Absolutely, especially when you want to kind of come up with some cool things for people to hopefully see in the wilderness. Because a lot of the times, for like some of the source books, it's like roll for how many encounters you will have, roll for what the encounters are. These are the monsters that they come across, which can be fun. But after a while, it's like it would be kind of cool if there was some weird scenery going on, or you know, a flag on top of a mountain, or something cool. Like, yeah, yeah, exactly. It's fun to like.
Yeah, some of the modules have stuff for you to roll for encountering. The DMG has it. The Xanathars has a set for rolling random things, and it's not always like you can roll a 23 and it's 4 trolls, but you could also roll a 70 and you happen upon a traveling merchant. So there are some that have some kind of unique stuff, but man, feel free to make your own.
Yes.
Hey, there's an NPC you really want to do, make that into a traveling merchant or something that they happen to encounter on the road.
That's a very good point. Yeah. A character that you just really want to play. So you're like, you have to. Sure. That's actually really cool. Yeah, I mean, no, this is the most creative job in the world. Have fun. You get to create. It's awesome. You don't have to create, you get to create. There's a big old difference.
Let's see. Try and check where are we in the chat here.
Oh yeah, we got Chronology Wars. Tell me how broken you think Arcane Abeyance is. Casting a ritual into a small bead that lasts an hour and can be cast immediately with an action by anyone.
Oh, how broken that is, being able to cast a ritual spell into something that can be just triggered as an action as opposed to 10 minutes or whatever. I will say, I mean, I'd have to look at the rule on it. How many can you have going at once? Is it just one? Or could you suddenly have several trigger? And whoever's triggering it, are they concentrating on it, or is it still the caster that then concentrates? You know, otherwise you could cast like a bunch of what's a good one, like I don't know, 6 Liam and Tiny Huts. But I'm assuming again I have to look it up. I assume that it's still the caster, and then they have to be the one concentrating, or whatever the case may be. I don't know that it's necessarily broken. I'd have to, as with a lot of things, something may sound broken, but it's not really when you use it and get a feel for it. Or something may sound perfectly fine, and you see it in action, you're like, wow, this feels really broken. So I'd have to use it and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it's only one at a time, right? You can't make like a beaded necklace or something.
Maybe, Again, I haven't. I confess, I'm not terribly familiar.
Wait, Marriott didn't mention it only one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, so that to me, it's like.
I don't know how broken it is. It's just, it's a cool ability that wizard can do, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just opens up the branch of how you can assist certain endeavors. It's great utility.
Well, if the bad guy's smart enough, they can shoot it out of your hand, too. It has only 1 hit point.
Oh, there you go. Or an explosion happens and you have this ritual spell in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
area of effect fireball or something. And,
Anything area of effect, thunderwave.
Yeah.
Anything, you know what I mean? Yeah. What are some situations that require a timed event, and how do you usually run them? I guess in out of combat, somebody's falling off of something.
Yeah,
That could be considered like a time
I
event.
was doing that incorrect for a while.
Oh yeah.
Because falling is like you instantly fall like 500 feet. There's no you
Is it
fall
that
this much
much?
per round and stuff. Yeah, it's I had to look it up because if you're like
500?
slow falling or something, you only fall a certain distance in a single turn, or magic is pulling you down. It's a certain speed per turn, but you just drop.
Wow.
The falling. Someone did the math at some point. It's what is terminal velocity or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
500 something. Yeah, it's D&D 5e. You fall at a rate of about 500 feet per 6 seconds.
Jesus Christ, 500 feet. I
So,
didn't know it was that
combat is
much. I knew it was a chunk, but
No, that's the
Oh,
thing.
wow.
You don't really. And I think that's part of the issue is I'd seen it used differently where they're only falling a certain amount during a round. Like you only fall as much as you would be able to run and dash, which doesn't actually make any sense.
no, that makes no fucking sense. I'm sorry.
So it's actually a lot more brutal than that.
Yeah.
And honestly, some of my players have benefited from my own ignorance on that because I didn't look it up. I just went with I think this is how it's done.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the middle of combat, I didn't feel like looking it up, and I was like, I've seen someone do this. They must have known what they were doing and just assumed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was I can think of a very specific instance on the side of a mountain where someone would have absolutely died because it was a huge drop. They had a cleric in the group, so they would have been able to piece them back together. They were high enough level; they would have been fine.
Okay.
So I think they were like level 15 at the time or something.
Okay.
But even at level 15, that road would not have survived it was like a 700-foot drop. So, well, unless you're doing the 20d6 thing, whatever. Man, I still don't like that much.
Nope. That fucking. I didn't do that.
Yeah. Sorry, I get it. You're superhuman. I get it. But man, if you drop from the upper atmosphere and hit the earth, you only take 20d6.
Yeah, exactly. What if you just roll ones?
Yeah.
Come at me, bro.
It's like, oof, yep.
Yeah, sorry, but another example of a timed event that came up. I mean, I brought up earlier things like grappling, or in terms of like, yeah, actually, you just brought it up. That I was thinking earlier. Yeah, like holding your breath outside of combat. Inside combat, it's the amount of minutes you can hold is your Constitution modifier, and that's kind of the rule of it all. But
yeah, 1 plus your con modifier, I think is what it is. Yeah, minimum of 1.
And of course, minimum of 1. I hope to God you have at least.
Yeah, and there's even like after that you can survive for X amount of rounds or something.
Based on rules.
Yeah, so like you breathe it in, but before you lose consciousness and are actually dead, you have another couple rounds or something. Again, based on con, maybe. I'd have to look it up.
So like that kind of time going on, do you just set like a little hourglass and keep minutes, or on your phone? I guess that's the more approach. Do you kind of keep tabs of it that way, or do you just kind of have some sort of narrative control of it and be like, hey, listen, you've been looking for a situation, but you're starting to run out of air. You don't have a lot of time, that kind of thing.
You can use your judgment, or I'm a big fan of the kind of soft initiative where you're saying, okay, everybody's gone once, it's been about 6 seconds.
Yeah.
You can kind of always have scratch paper when you're DMing, please. Have tons
Get a
of scratch
notepad.
and be like, okay, about that long's passed, about this long's passed. Now, again, holding your breath in D&D, you can hold your breath. If you're in combat, you're fine. You just have to deal with the mechanics of underwater combat, or you may not be able to cast spells because you're letting your breath out on a verbal. I mean, there's plenty of spells that don't have a verbal component, but a lot of them have verbal components.
Yeah, very, very much so. Which is why subtle spell. I'm standing by subtle spell being one of my favorite meta magics. I just think it's a gem.
I'm all about quicken spell and twin spell, but subtle it's very useful. Yeah.
It can get you out of some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that was an example of like when I was saying time defense, things like that, or
a building is collapsing and it's kind of somewhat of a chase sequence, but you're kind of being chased by a collapsing building, so you have a timed event.
Yeah, with obstacles that you roll a d20 for, and you kind of go. I think probably taking like a chase into a burning house or something would be
the coolest way. You either roll a d20, or maybe they have to do dex checks to jump over stuff, or acrobatics, or whatever. Yeah. Those can be fun. I haven't done a lot of them because they are a lot of mechanics and they are stressful. I should implement them more because they're exciting for the players.
It's cool. It's really fun.
Yeah. But it can be very tense.
I had a roulette game timed event one time. I had a roulette game timed event one time.
A roulette game? So you're playing roulette and it was a timed event.
Oh, so while you were playing while the ball was spinning, you had a chance to like cheat, like sleight of hand, use subtle spell. And mage hand and just
I mean, I don't know that I fully call that a timed event because it takes about, I don't know how long it technically takes, but it's like 5 or 6 seconds for the ball to finally sit down. So you've got an action, maybe a bonus if the DM allows it. When I think of timed event, I think of a series of, it takes 30 seconds or whatever at least.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But yeah, sure. I guess that counts.
Aggressively sailing is a good option as well. So like there's lots of waves going on and they get a chance to react, but there's another huge wave coming across. Maybe you guys each get an action to go for it, but maybe one action is like, I'm just going to hold on. Cool, that happens really quickly, but someone is like, wins or not, and it's like, alright, well, who knows how fast this is going to go before that next wave kind of comes about.
Yeah, water combat can be crazy, whether it's actual like boat to boat or if it's you're out trying to outrun a storm or survive it. There's a lot of stuff that can be going on with that. I highly recommend not just making that up, but looking at some source materials. There's some stuff out there that specifically talks about combat on the water or how to move a boat, what roles need to be filled, and checks for all of it. Heck, if you want to, you can just get Ghosts of Saltmarsh has some instructions in that.
Yeah, and I've heard both opinions about the naval combat of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Some people are like, they're kind of like, don't really like it because it's kind of it's up to the captain of the vessel, and then everyone gets like a special action, but when it comes to the captain's turn, only then can they take it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can use it as a building off place. That's the beauty of a lot of these things, and I think I've said it before. Even the DMG says this is your game. If you want to change some stuff, alter it, adapt it to how you play or whatever.
Well, a great example is Baldur's Gate sent to Avernus when they talk about the infernal machines. It's a whole different thing because depending on where you're at, you just get a cool action to utilize during combat on your turn. So I don't know. So maybe I just need to read through Ghosts of Saltmarsh one more time. But I do think there's
it's somewhere around here.
Yeah, but
and so is Descent into Avernus around here somewhere. I have too many books.
No such thing.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just trying to look here. Mentioned falling. What's one area of DMing mechanics that most get wrong or avoid? Drowning, swimming. We talked about that. Swimming.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes the swimming and combat underwater can be a little tough. Like I said, the verbal stuff. Does magic pierce through without a disadvantage, as opposed to shooting an arrow, which would be at a lower? I think the way it's structured is it's if it has two ranges, like your bow does 60 and 120, it's now down to only 60, and it's at disadvantage up to that point. And beyond 60, you just lose all momentum. But yeah, that can be one that's tough to remember or figure out, and maybe you just kind of make it up as you go along.
Yeah, as long as you're fair with your judgment, I think it's fair enough to like steer slightly off course for that.
I try my best, and sometimes it can take momentum out of combat, but I try my best to stay close to the rules for those kind of things.
Yeah.
Because then you might get into that area where say you have that scenario pop up again, you don't remember what you did last time, and the player's like, well, last time you let us do this, and you start to question yourself.
Yeah.
So sometimes going with the rules as written is a good way to go.
Yeah. That's very true. Drowning, swimming.
What else we got?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, well, if there's one that you brought it up. Falling was the one that is. Yeah, you just drop. You gone.
Yeah, you just drop. Yeah, and that even if it doesn't kill the character, sometimes it can completely take them out of combat because, say that what you're fighting is 300 feet in the air, you don't have any spells to get you up there or to throw anything that far.
Yeah.
And now your paladin that had been flying fell out of the sky, and they're just on the ground just going, bring the dragon to me, or whatever.
Yeah. My favorite meme is that dude with the baseball bat. And he's like all pumped, and it's like when you hear the barbarian and he's just waiting for the dragon.
Yeah.
I still laugh, and if I see that these days, I still crack up.
I think I saw something else in there.
Oh wait, you know what? I'll bring it up. Dark vision.
Oh yeah, that's
very misconstrued.
I admit to being a little lax and lazy about that sometimes.
I'm very lax. That should really be more.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't really came up inside your guys' campaign too much.
No, I mean, it's generally just always kind of dark, but I feel like the way you describe it, it's more of low light than true darkness.
Yeah, when the aurora is out, it's low light.
Yeah.
It's in light. But yeah, I do think dark vision is. I mean, to me, it's more of a tool to make the scary parts of being in the dark. Like, it gives you narrative description to make it be scary. It's not like night vision.
Yeah. No, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
everything's still in a grayscale. You still can't make out things very well. It's just you're not blind like you're the human in the group or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one that I'll
dark vision is definitely not as powerful as some people tend to make it out to be, and darkness is a lot worse than some people make it out to be.
Oh yeah.
I think sometimes it's a mechanic that some DMs are just like, I don't want to deal with it. You have dark vision, great. You don't have a disadvantage at perception, which that's not exactly what it means.
Yeah.
Completely.
Partial cover. I think that's great. I love cover, 3/4 cover, partial cover, total cover.
Great.
I think that's great. If a player uses the fucking environment, like flips a table and like blocks the door with it, that shit's sick to me. I love it.
Yeah. One of the greatest, earliest things, creative-wise, that I heard while playing D&D was using minor illusion to create partial cover.
Oh, that's kind of great.
Yeah.
So you just cover.
You got a spellcaster, a ranger, whatever. Yeah, it takes your action, but you throw up a minor illusion in front of them, and on their turn, unless they make a good investigation check against the illusion, maybe that person has partial cover now because that enemy is trying to aim around it, not through it.
Yeah.
I think partial cover is great, especially because there's feat that helps ignore cover, and if you're already ignoring it, then what's the point of taking that feat?
Yeah,
or sharpshooter or something like that. Yeah. There's one before we completely. And I was going to go back, but then I saw Mariachi Dan's partial cover explained various times. So partial cover, it's like half cover and 3/4 cover, and half cover is plus 2 to the armor class.
Yeah.
And 3/4 cover is plus 5 to the armor class.
Yeah.
So again, sometimes it's you as a DM, you have to make a bit of a judgment call on how covered are they,
Yeah.
whether it's the enemy or the player. Because if the enemy's shooting at you through arrow slits, guess what? That's 3/4 cover at least.
Yeah, that's generous.
Yeah. So while those goblins may have like 11 armor class, well, now they have 16.
Exactly. Yeah, and you got to Legolas that shit. You got to get right through that. That's not the whole thing. And then, Emily sort of brought it up there. You can only see in gray unless, of course, you're a Genasi. You see. Yeah. Like I think the fire see things in shades of
they
red.
can kind of red.
And there's certain cute things like that.
It does specifically say, if I recall, that you can't make out details, but you make out shapes and stuff like that. But and again, I will call myself out for it. A lot of times I tend to just kind of let it be and let them get if they rolled well enough, you know what? Here's some details.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, because it's like you wouldn't bash your shin on the coffee table.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, you still, even if you have dark vision, like you said, it's not night vision. It's not true sight or blind sight. Things that are in the game for people who really would be able to just walk through the room without hitting everything.
Yeah.
Dark vision just means you're better at not running into things. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
Even orcs carry torches. That's true. Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. A dragon may not need it because of true sight or something, but
yeah, exactly.
And even true sight has its own. It's specific to like illusions and things like that. But blind sight's the one I'm thinking of, where you can kind of.
Blind sight's good.
Yeah, it's great. And how specific is that? What is the blind sight? Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, close to. It's close to that. It's like being in the dark and your eyes so interesting. That's
right. Yeah. It just doesn't take you as long to adjust. You're kind of in there and you already have that.
Yeah, your eyes just kind of glaze over. Pupils. Do you really love it?
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna do it. I keep trying to go back to something.
Oh, of course, yeah, please.
There it is. Okay. Bedlam Beersy mentioned talking about timed events in a more grand scale, the background world event clock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's something I like to do personally because it puts a lot more tension on the players. Like, we need to take care of this before this occurs. Yeah. And if, say, they don't make it, that's not necessarily like a game-ending thing, like the campaign's ruined because they weren't able to do something in time. But there are still components moving without them. Mm-hmm. That does take a lot of other behind-the-scenes planning for you as a DM. You have to set certain things up. If something attacks something, are you going to, on your own, kind of roll some combat over there and see, all right, how did this go?
I like to do that.
I like doing that. Yeah. I think it makes the world more interesting. Now, can you run into the issue of they constantly feel like they have to be on the run and they never have downtime? If you've got that going on too often, which I have been guilty of. But yeah, I think the world is still moving, even if you decide. I told my players at one point, it's like, you don't want to go and become pirates or some whatever, that's fine. All that stuff you avoid is still going to happen. I'm just going to see how it affects the world around you.
Yeah, 100%.
And maybe somewhere down the line, you're going to feel like, man, maybe we should do something about this.
Yeah, maybe you're not as exempt as you thought you'd be.
Yeah.
Or maybe you are, and great.
Yeah, I love a world clock, as you put it here. Yeah.
I mean, you guys are slowly starting to run into what some of the world clocking has kind of been about recently. Yeah,
a little bit. Finding out more of what's going on. Been a lot of, most of our campaign thus far has been, we have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of, the whole book is just about secrets. There's just so many, there's so much shit happening in the dark and in the ice. It's like, I mean, the part that I'm gonna hate saying goodbye to this campaign is, it's gonna suck knowing all the cool stuff that you guys just won't see because, I mean, Yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot. It's a good book.
Mariachi Dan, for the illusory cover, can't they just shoot through the cover? It might block the visual up, but can't they just shoot the middle of it? Yeah. That's why when I was describing it, it's more of they think it's real, so they're not trying to shoot through it. They're trying to snipe your head. Yeah, you peek behind a corner, so they try and hit a spot this big. They're not trying to. I mean, your armor class is not just trying to hit a stationary person there, and you're just aiming generally into a 5-foot cube. It's how quick are you? Are you prone? Are you? What effects are out? Things like that. So having something illusory. Yeah, that's why you can also have them make an investigation check, and does the enemy believe that that's actually there, or it is an illusion against the DC of the caster? And maybe they're like, that's an illusion, and sure, yeah, they shoot right through it, and they get no cover. So, it's just an outside of the box way of doing it.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know if it'll provide disadvantage. I think, in addition to your AC, like how hard you are to hit, I think that's fair. Yeah, I don't think you'd go so far to give it a disadvantage, in my opinion.
No, probably not. No.
Well, I mean, kind of. I mean, you don't get to see through your illusions, I don't think.
Wait. So why would? So he said, why would it provide It didn't provide disadvantage. It provided possible extra cover. The partial. No, I never said it would provide disadvantage. It would be a partial cover. Yeah.
But yeah, if you go to the corner, if you hug the wall, minor illusions look like a pillar. You know, and if no one has any reason to believe it, like, I mean, maybe they pass it all the time. And they're like, I know there's not a fucking pillar there. Or you do it in front of people, they're gonna know that you did it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Did they see you cast the spell right in front of? I mean, maybe. It kind of depends. Maybe you can conjure up a brick wall, and they think, well, crap, they just created a brick wall.
Yeah.
Have them doing it. Otherwise, those spells are solely for outside of combat. But why not be creative and bring it into combat a little bit?
Absolutely.
If it fails, it fails.
You can remove a door by just making the wall continue from one side of the door to the other, and then just as far as they're concerned, there's no door.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you lay on the ground and put an illusion over you, if they see that that's incorrect, well, you just gave them advantage on the attack against you.
Yeah.
So it's risky.
Line your stomach and then minor illusion like a bear rug.
Yeah, it's like you fooled one of them, but the other one's like, "What are you doing?" and just stabs you in the head.
That guy's dumb.
Yeah, that's why they put inside those spells, like, people. There's mechanics in there. Anybody who wants to discern that there is, they make an investigation check against your spell DC or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's written into the spells.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Caterpillar my way to the bad guys' clothes. Yeah.
Hey, that could work. That could work.
The moving statue, every now and then.
I mean, if it's a minor illusion, you have to keep recasting.
Yeah, it's a counter. You can shoot.
And do like a silent image that might work pretty well with, because you can move out. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, man, I think on that note, that's a great spot to end it. We got past our hour there by quite a bit, and I kind of felt like we would on this one because it's.
Yeah, I was a little worried. Like early on, I was like, okay, we could stretch this out. Well.
Yeah.
At 15 minutes, I wasn't sure, but as soon as the chat started asking questions, we just rambled.
So cool. I love it.
I say rambled. There's some really good stuff we talked about in there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, I'm glad to know about that full length. I knew it was a lot. I was like 500 years. That's
it's very fast and quite instant.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thank you for keeping the chat so lively. Please consider giving us a follow. We would really appreciate it. We're trying to match our goal at the bottom of this, so go ahead and do that if you like what you saw. Thank you everyone else, our regulars out here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you, Case. I love these chats, man.
Thank you. They're great.
Oh yeah. Alrighty, well, everybody enjoy the rest of your nights, and if you love somebody, tell them that you love them.
Yeah.